Hello. So in this video, I just wanted to talk about my experience dealing with imposter syndrome, having been through a full semester now as a freshman at MIT. Imposter syndrome can be really rough at MIT, which I think makes sense because, it's like one of the best STEM schools in the world, and so everyone here is very insane. And I mean I mean that in the sense that everyone's like super accomplished and talented, and honestly just really good people, and they've done a lot of things in high school, like even before coming to MIT, and they'll continue to do a lot of great things at MIT and beyond. But with that, honestly, everyone is super humble about themselves. Like no one is ever like bragging or trying to flex on anyone else. Like, oh, I went to this like international research fair and you didn't, or I won this competition. Just letting you know, there's honestly none of that at MIT. Everyone's super like low key about the stuff they've done. Like, I feel like you almost to an extent would never know about like what they did in high school unless you went to stalk their LinkedIn or something. The people are just like not toxic at all. They're just super humble, super low key, also super supportive of you. Like everyone thinks everyone else is amazing, which is true. Imposter syndrome at MIT definitely doesn't come from like students like trying to make each other feel like imposters, or like anything from the administration like comparing students to each other. Absolutely not. There's nothing like that. Um, but I did kind of struggle with it several times throughout the semester, but not necessarily in the sense that I felt like an imposter. So, like, not exactly imposter syndrome, but it was more of like, I guess, feeling like not enough or like not accomplished enough. And so, the reason I don't exactly consider this imposter syndrome is because I have a very literal way of thinking sometimes. So for me, I was like, once they admit someone and they send them the admissions package and everything, your name gets printed on like the certificate of admission, your name gets printed on all the letters. So like for me, I was like, I can't be an imposter here because after sending all those like materials to me, like with my name on it and stuff, if it was an error, someone would have caught it. And and so that might be not the best way to deal with imposter syndrome, but that's definitely like one way that I dealt with it. And of course, the other aspect is like you trust the admissions officers, right? Like they read like thousands of applications and they like still decided to admit you. And I saw this saying somewhere that's like a little bit brutal, but I think works. Um, and it's like the admissions officers could throw out like the entire admitted class of like 2024 or 2025 or whatever and like pick 1,000-ish next people, and like the quality of classes between those two would not drop at all just because they have so many good applicants. Because of that, it's like, they could just pick more people and get like just as accomplished of a class. It's kind of saying that, they picked you for a reason. You're here for a reason, even if you may not see it or you may not think so. But you have something unique to offer. You have unique experiences and unique insights and a unique personality that's gonna help everyone else here. So that's something that like was said a lot to among the freshmen to each other after we were first admitted. We were just like, you're here for a reason. The admissions officers don't make mistakes. They chose you. After that little tangent, back to what I was saying about feeling not enough, you can't say that like, oh, if you like go to this competition or if you like do research and like go to this international research fair or something, you're definitely gonna get into MIT. Like that cannot be said. And but for me, I never did like math competitions. Like I never went to the like Amy or like USAMO. That might be wrong. But anyways, I never went to like academic national competitions. I didn't do any research in high school, go to any like research competitions or coding competitions or anything. Definitely when I started out the fall term, like I would like look around at my peers and see a lot of people who did do those things and like were very successful. Yeah, several times I would just be like, wow, They are so cool and they have done so much and they are so talented and accomplished, and I am just kind of here. So, yeah, that's a feeling I kind of like struggled with. For me, it was not so much imposter syndrome as like feeling not accomplished enough, or as I thought of it, like not cool enough. Um, after having been through that several times, I've kind of like gotten a better handle on, how to deal with that, or how that's like wrong. So for me, there are two main aspects to the like not feeling cool enough or feeling like an imposter or not feeling accomplished enough. The first aspect is that yes, you are cool, you are accomplished, you are talented. Yeah, and like you should be here. It was easy for me to like compare myself to other people and see in them stuff that they had that I was like lacking. But honestly, when you compare yourself to other people, I feel like it can be really easy to undersell yourself. Like you can see other people and like look at how accomplished they are and be like, wow, they're so talented or whatever. But don't forget that like you have also done a lot of things. Like don't get lost in other people's accomplishments or whatever and forget about your own. It can feel like a bit dishonest, I guess, to tell yourself that you're just as like amazing and accomplished and cool as everyone else. And like for all the people that you admire and think are very amazing, they also think you're very cool and amazing. But I think that's honestly the truth. For every single person that you admire and you think like is really amazing, they also think you're very cool and fun and talented. So, like I said earlier, MIT is honestly not super competitive. Like the students don't compete with each other. The students aren't like constantly placing pressure on each other. The administration is absolutely not creating any of that kind of atmosphere. In my opinion, the most serious competition at MIT comes from you comparing yourself to others. Like if you're always like comparing yourself to other people and seeing like how you measure up, I guess you're always going to feel in competition with those other people. And that can be very overwhelming. I guess one part of that is to realize that you are just as accomplished and an equal with everyone around you. So the other aspect to me is instead of having the perspective of like competing with other people or like comparing yourself or feeling unworthy, I try to view it as like, wow, I'm really lucky to be at MIT. I'm really grateful that I'm here. And I have so many like so smart, so talented, so kind like people to call my classmates and to like have as my friends and my peers. And that's a really great opportunity, and I'm really glad that I have it and that MIT has given it to me. But yeah, obviously imposter syndrome or like feeling not accomplished enough syndrome is still pretty difficult. It's still something that sometimes I find myself like feeling kind of negative about. But I think I am at least learning how to deal with it better. Everyone has obviously like been nothing but supportive for me this fall semester. All the other freshmen, all the upperclassmen, any MIT administration that I've interacted with. And the toughest part of imposter syndrome here, this comes from how you view yourself. For me, I think it's just telling yourself that, like, you're here for a reason. You've also done a lot of cool things. You have something unique that no one else has. And you deserve to be here and not stress about how you compare, or not stress about how you measure up to other people and just have a good time. Because, this is your college experience too. It shouldn't be about, like, proving yourself in some way, if that makes any sense. You should also, like, be having a good time. And then also just trying to see everything in a more positive light rather than negative. So it's like, feeling grateful to be here instead of seeing this as, like, wow, I'm very lame. So those are my thoughts after going through a semester at MIT and meeting everyone else here. I mean, I anticipate that imposter syndrome is something that like I'll come back to throughout my 4 years here. But I think it'll be with more like constructive, more positive feelings about it than maybe I had at the beginning. So maybe this offered some insight into like what the culture was like at MIT. Is it really like stressful and competitive? Like, are people like at each other's throats? And the answer is no. Um, these are just my 2 cents about imposter syndrome at MIT and how to deal with it and how I have experienced and not experienced it. So yeah, that about concludes everything I have to say for now. Thanks for tuning in.